You told me, Hembo, that you have a trivia question for me.
I do. So this is Baker Mayfield's 5th season in the NFL. And I would like you to name every head coach that Baker Mayfield has played for, this being his 5th NFL season.
All right, so I'm going to say that. All right, I'll just go through them. So he had Hugh Jackson, right? Was one. Can you tell me the number, just so I have an idea in my head?
Steve Wilkes, who is replacing Matt Rhule, will be the 6th head coach he has played for.
That's incredible. All right, so I mean the obvious ones are Steve Wilkes now. Matt Rhule is an obvious one because he's just playing for him now. The guy who followed Hugh Jackson, they gave the job to the defensive coordinator. His name just Greg Williams.
That's right.
Right. And so how many have I named? That's 4.
You got 2 more.
There's 2 more. Well, Kevin Stefanski is obviously one, right?
And who coached him in 2019?
And yeah, the guy who everyone hated. He was the receivers coach, and they elevated him to head coach, and it was a disaster. Don't tell me his name.
I think he was the tight ends coach.
Tight ends coach, and it was just an abject disaster in everybody's assessment. And when he's on some other staff now, I see him. His name is not coming to my head. What is it?
It's Freddie Kitchens.
That's it, Freddie Kitchens. That's exactly right.
Can you believe that?
No.
6 head coaches in 5 years.
Look, that's how you don't have a chance. Look, do I want to sit here and defend Baker Mayfield? Do I think that his lot in life was to be the greatest quarterback that ever lived? The fact that he was drafted number 1 in a year in which Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both got drafted in the first round is going to wind up looking, the kind of bad that we talked about a lot with the juxtaposition of Tua and Justin Herbert. Oh, by the way, put Sam Darnold in that same box, unfortunately for him. And they went 1-3 in that draft. Just goes to show you how little teams in the NFL actually know. Or it goes to show you how much these quarterbacks are a product of their environment. So what is the biggest difference between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? Were Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, are they too dumb to play football? Do they not throw the ball well enough to play football? Are they not motivated enough to be great football players? Or was it the circumstances into which they came? Because you could put together that same list for Sam Darnold. How many coaches has he played for? And the number is going to be disturbingly high. And how many coaches Josh Allen has played for in Buffalo? 1. We just sat here talking about how Brian Daboll is the standalone coach of the year this year by far. He is the guy who was there and until this year was the voice and the ear and everything else of Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson went to co-play for John Harbaugh, one of the most stable organizations and stable coaching circumstances in the entire NFL. So this is not to diminish Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. The person that gets the most credit for what they've accomplished, of course, is those 2 guys themselves. But it is a reminder of how dependent the quarterback position is, and that far more young quarterbacks in the NFL are ruined than developed. So Baker Mayfield's lot in life now is going to be a backup somewhere. He's not going to get another chance to start unless the team he's playing backup for, the starting quarterback gets hurt and he goes in and gets red hot. He can resurrect his career, and I suppose Darnold could too. But the overwhelming likelihood is that they will not. That they will now just be journeymen who are backups for the rest of their lives. And someday we will say, remember when Baker Mayfield had all those commercials? Remember what a big star he was? Whatever happened to that? 6 coaches in 5 years is what happened to that. And look, I don't know Baker Mayfield at all. I know a lot of people are sort of disinclined to like him because of his brashness and everything. But in that regard, I do feel sorry for him. I don't know how many people could survive, could succeed, could thrive when in their first couple of years in the NFL, their coaches were Hugh Jackson, Greg Williams, and Freddie Kitchens. And then Stefanski came in, oh, by the way, and he had a really good year. Baker had a good year. He accomplished some stuff in Cleveland, and they won a playoff game. And they almost beat Kansas City in the next one. Then he came out, he got hurt week 2 the next year. He was never the same again. They decided they were going to sell their souls and everything else to get Deshaun Watson. And here he is. Now he's got another coach fired. Again, I'm not exonerating Baker Mayfield from responsibility for all the things that have happened. But what I am saying is that if Josh Allen had been drafted by the Browns or the Jets right now, he wouldn't be Josh Allen. He wouldn't be. And that's why I'm encouraged to see good things happening for Zach Wilson, the young quarterback of the Jets, because they're not putting him in the same position that Sam Darnold was in. They look that they have found some stability. For whatever my question marks are about the offensive coordinator, these are young guys, young coaches who seem to have a finger on the pulse of the team. The team seems motivated and excited, and most importantly, they went out and they put a ton of talent around him. And it's not the Jets' fault, actually, that their offensive line is bad because they're all hurt. Like, they just got a slew of injuries. So they're doing the things. They're taking the steps necessary to, I think, to develop the young quarterback, and now the rest of it is going to be up to him. And the jury is obviously still out on how it's going to turn out. But at least they seem to have gotten the important parts of it right. Like, the prerequisite for all of this, like, to use a golf analogy, there's like your whole pre-shot routine. Like, long before you hit the ball, you have to have gotten a lot of things right. If you get the things wrong before you hit the ball, it doesn't matter how good your swing is. If you're facing in the wrong direction, just to use the ultimate example of something that would never happen, but if you've never played golf before, then just envision. If you're standing and you're facing in the opposite direction, if the green is to your right and you are facing to your left and you hit it that way, it doesn't matter how pretty your swing is. So yeah, the first thing you have to do is know which direction you're trying to hit it. And that is all the other pieces that they're putting in place that they either do or don't put in place around the young quarterbacks. And so that, unfortunately, I think is what happened to Baker Mayfield.
One more thing here, and this more about Rhule, who obviously failed spectacularly in Carolina. We saw Urban Meyer fail even more spectacularly in Jacksonville. At what point are we just going to stop bothering hiring college coaches to do this job?
They won't. These guys, because these guys can't help themselves. The people who make these decisions, I always somewhat jokingly refer to them as the geniuses who make these decisions in pro football, do things that you can't. They didn't just hire Matt Rhule. They gave him a 7-year contract. They still owe him 4 years worth of work, worth of pay that they will have to pay him.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.